look at the Denver Nuggets and say, whoa, just a week ago, they were that minus 115 or so price. Now we're looking at them at a 7-1 price. Any chances the Nuggets can actually come back?
I think this is going 6 or 7 games, so I think that could be a little bit of a tighter spread between those two. But when you got those two guys, those two monsters, and Towns and Edwards, it's just really hard.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Every missed call, the entire game, whether it's a charge or a block or a deflection that was wrong or a foul that should have been called that wasn't called or vice versa. Give me a 48-minute report. And people that will understand that there's so many mistakes that the referees make over the course of the game that referees, ready folks, don't decide the outcome.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The Early Line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Tuesday Live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Right Side. I am Ben Stevens. That's a lovely blue on you this morning, DRS.
Yeah.
And we are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time. It is a jam-packed Tuesday in the world of sports. We look back on another doubleheader on a Monday night around the association that featured both of the number 1 overall seeds in either conference. 2 games on the ice in the Stanley Cup postseason. The Canes avoid elimination once again. A full, almost full Major League Baseball slate on a Monday, and on this Tuesday, the start of a WNBA season. Caitlin Clark makes her debut tonight for the Indiana Fever on the road in Connecticut. There is so much to get to over these 3 hours. A full WNBA season preview here in the summer of 2024 comes your way in this edition of the Early Line on a Tuesday as well.
A full season for the WNBA preview today on the show. Get ready, people. We'll get you ready for Caitlin Clark and much, much more. But we had some interesting stuff go down yesterday, Ben. We talked about it early, right? Setting up the show for the day. We were saying, okay, Donovan Mitchell should have a big game. Then we got those alerts that he might be questioned on how that would play into it. Congratulations if you stuck it out there and you just bet the side here with Cleveland and won that one. But that was a pretty dramatic effort from the Cavaliers bench players to almost pull off an upset, but be competitive throughout the night. And so many good things across the ice. And also the Thunder, baby. We're back, Ben. We're back.
The Thunder are back, and do not disrespect OKC on Donnie's watch. That's where we begin the nightcap of a doubleheader in Dallas last night. The Mavericks had an 11-point lead at the halftime break. Dallas was up by as many as 14 early on in the third quarter, only for Oklahoma City to rally in the second half. And late in the fourth quarter, it was back and forth. A dismal shooting night from Dallas overall. A dismal shooting night from Dallas at the charity stripe. Just 12 of 23, and it reared its ugly head late as Luka Doncic walked to the free throw line with an opportunity to tie with 10 ticks remaining in regulation. Only made one of two, and OKC seals it with some made free throws of their own. Behind a 34-point performance from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Thunder even up the series at 2 games all with a 196 victory. Slightly as an underdog, just getting a point on the road. Donnie, by the time we got the tip last night in Dallas, only 4 cents separated these two teams on the money line. It was minus 110 Mavs, minus 106 Thunder.
It was great to watch it play out, too. And also, you take a look at SGA. Now, the jokes always come in, Ben, right? He's not allowed to score over 35 points, so he gets in his range. 34 points covers his total. But take a look at the efficiency, Ben. 42 minutes played, 14 of 27 from the field. Only took 1 3-point shot and missed it, but was 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Chipped in with 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. But how about this? The ball in his hands all night long. No turnovers on the road in a playoff game. What a tremendous, tremendous night for SGA. Now, if we do flip it over to some of the numbers you were talking about for Dallas, you're not going to win very many playoff games when you get to the line 23 times and make roughly 50% of your free throws here. You're going to lose that every time, specifically against a team, Ben, that shoots 96% from the line last night. Big time win for OKC. Back in that picture, they steal back home court advantage, which is exactly what you wanted to do after a 1-1 split in your own building here. Love this. Best of 3. What a series.
What a resilient effort from that young Thunder core. 23 of 24 for Oklahoma City from the free throw line. As Donnie said, on the other side, the Mavericks shoot just 52% from the charity stripe, 12 of 23. P.J. Washington continues to fire from deep. 5 made triples for a 3rd consecutive game, was Dallas's leading scorer with 21 points. But if P.J. Washington, in a 4th game of a second-round series in the playoffs, is your leading scorer with a starting 5 that includes Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, it's not necessarily a good thing. Plenty more reaction from Dallas as that series is even at 2 games all. Big news yesterday leading up to the tip of game number 4 in Cleveland between the Cavaliers and the Celtics. No Donovan Mitchell for the Cavs. It moves the line drastically, 12 points in favor of Boston. But a ton of trends came to a close last night. The Celtics do win 109-102 to take a 3-1 series advantage over Cleveland. But it was Boston's first win in this playoff run. They have 7 in total. That was by less than 13 points. It was the first victory for the C's. They did not cover the number of at least a 7.5-point spread. It was the first time Cleveland has covered as an underdog and not won a game outright. And depending on where you got that number yesterday, either Cleveland easily covered as a 12-point dog, or if you maybe bet Boston at 8.5 earlier in the day before Spida was ruled out, a jumper from Karis LeVert with 2 ticks left might have ripped your heart out to make it just a 7-point win for Boston.
Yeah, take a look there. Darius Garland, 40 minutes played, 12 of 27. He sort of took that Donovan Mitchell role over, 4 of 13 from three-point range, which sounds a lot like Donovan Mitchell, and 30 total points scored. I love the effort that I got out of the Cleveland Cavaliers with King James in attendance last night in Cleveland, but that wasn't enough. And also, the minute you saw that we weren't going to get the superstar Donovan Mitchell playing here for the Cleveland Cavaliers, it was pretty much a wrap. But I love the effort from Cleveland all the way through to keep this game tight and keep it competitive, because quite frankly, once you saw that injury and Jared Allen not playing, like, this might be a 15 to 20-point easy blowout victory. But Cleveland kept it close, but that's all they were able to do. And in the playoffs, you're not going to get any bonus points for keeping games close or covering spreads here. You're now down 3-1. Boston's going to close out in 5, which Spider Mitchell or not was probably going to happen anyway. But I did like the fight for the Cavaliers. They could have rolled over and got beat by 40 last night, but they played it tough at home.
Again, plenty more reaction coming from that series as we head back to a potentially series-clinching game number 5 in Boston in just a few days. Now to the ice. 2 big scores yesterday in the National Hockey League in the Stanley Cup postseason. The New York Rangers in Game 5, back on home ice inside Madison Square Garden, took a 1-zip lead entering the 3rd, but Carolina rallied, scoring 4 times in the 3rd period to stave off elimination again, return to Raleigh, and force a Game 6.
I love this. Let's get a comeback here. Let's see how if we can push this to 7 games. I don't know if it's going to get there, but last night you saw the shorthanded goal in the second period by the Rangers, Ben. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to pay attention to this much more. There's no scoring. Just wanted to see who was doing the damage in that game. Check the score later. 4-1 final. What a monster third period on the road in the Garden for the Hurricanes, gaining momentum on a day-to-day basis now.
Elsewhere at the Mile High City, the Dallas Stars roll easily over the Colorado Avalanche, winning 5-1. Dallas has now taken a 3-1 series lead, headed back home, trying to advance to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, that's a big-time win right there because now you take a look at an ultra-talented team for the Avalanche, but you have that home ice advantage of 3-1. Just need one more victory. That was a dominant performance that sent the fans early to the exits last night in Denver.
Some big NFL contract news yesterday. The Detroit Lions signing Jared Goff to a 4-year, $212 million extension with $170 million guarantee. That's an annual average salary of $53 million per year for Jared Goff. Makes him the second highest paid quarterback in the National Football League, only behind Joe Burrow.
Look, it's the same as the housing market here. So you sell a house, you get comps. The next house is probably going to sell higher than yours. So let it be known to people out there that if you're worrying about paying your quarterback, pay him first. Don't pay him last. You're going to end up paying much, much more than the previous guys paid for. And that's what happens in the market. Jared Goff is only worth what his number is on the open market.
Yep.
That's what it is now. The next guy that signs, Ben, going to get over what he got. So there you go.
A base point there, DRS. Antoine Winfield Jr., the young safety for the Buccaneers, placed under the franchise tag earlier this offseason, agrees to a historic extension with Tampa. 4 years, $84 million. He becomes the highest paid defensive back in the National Football League. In some big news in women's college basketball, Lisa Bluter, head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes, announces her retirement seemingly out of nowhere yesterday after 24 years at the helm. Her longtime assistant, Jan Jensen, now becomes the head coach of the Hawkeyes. Plenty more around the NBA playoffs up next.
Every missed call, the entire game, whether it's a charge or a block or a deflection that was wrong or a foul that should have been called that wasn't called or vice versa. Give me a 48-minute report. And people that will understand that there's so many mistakes that the referees make over the course of the game that referees, ready folks, just don't decide the outcome.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How fragile are these guys? It's amazing. They're supposed to be the greatest athletes in the world, and yet they can't walk and chew gum at the same time without getting hurt, for goodness sakes.
That Trout injury really is a bummer, too, because people thought he was going to have a big year. And I look, I don't feel bad for the Angels. I don't like Mike Trout in Anaheim. I thought he should have left when his contract was up.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Devastating loss to Georgia Tech, where they made significant coaching errors, but Miami, with all of these changes, obviously looking to churn over this roster and upgrade the talent level.
Don't sleep on Rick Pitino. Listen, at the end of the day, the portal is the portal, Mike. Don't matter where you came from, it's where you're going and how much money can you get.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for, so I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
A rally late in the fourth quarter in game number 4 for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last night in Dallas against the Mavericks to even up this second round set at 2 games all. We welcome you back to the early line on this Tuesday morning right here all across the SportsGrid network. Donnie Rightside has had ultimate belief in the Oklahoma City Thunder for the entirety of this postseason, entering this Western Conference semifinal series against Dallas. That included in Game 4 last night. OKC, a very slight 1.5 point road underdog in Game number 4 against the Mavs. By the time we got the tip last night in Dallas, only 4 cents separated these two clubs on the money line. -110 for the Mavericks, -106 on the other side for the Thunder. And because of that second half rally, OKC has tied this series at 2 games apiece. Donnie, OKC was down by as many as 14 early in the second half. They rallied to win 196 outright as an underdog against the Mavericks, who had a dismal night shooting, a dismal night trying to make a free throw, and it cost the Mavs late. This series, again, tied at 2 games all.
Yeah, we talked about this series from last week, and I know you're a little bit disappointed in me when they lost that second game and it was 1-1. And I didn't change my thought process because I still told you Oklahoma was going to win this series. But now expectations were to change. You go on the road, it's not supposed to be, all right, let's just pick up an easy win in Game 3 and Game 4. We'll head back home up 3-1. I said, you know what? All they need to do is get a, push out of this, basically 1-1 when you go on the road and head back, and they'll be just fine. I thought they would. Getting a little bit nervous last night, that 30-20 first quarter here, and then down double digits at the break, and you said almost 15 points by the time we hit the third quarter. But look at that defense in the third quarter. Only 22 points scored by Oklahoma City, but they held the Dallas Mavericks to only 15 points. Then look at the fourth quarter, turned on the Jets on offense, 35 points, and held Dallas down to 27 points. That's a big-time win because also, when we talked about coming into the playoffs for OKC, and I'll keep reiterating this, we weren't trusting them. Maybe they were trusting themselves inside the building. Loved what I saw in round number 1, but didn't get a lot of credit because of an injured Pelicans team. That's what you're supposed to do, apparently, is just sweep NBA teams. Then you saw game number 1, we looked really impressive against the Mavericks. Then you hit that adversity, losing game 2 and losing game number 3, only to turn it up with down double digits in the second half. And I brought up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's an awesome performance, playing over 40 minutes, not turning the basketball over, and despite shooting 27 times from the floor, getting 34 points. And also, how about your B players? Holmgren, 40 minutes played, but efficient, Ben. 6 of 9 from the floor, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 1 of 2 from three-point range with 18 points. I loved what I saw out of OKC yesterday. And if you guys out there aren't believing, like, we got to wait to see if they can take on Denver or Minnesota, you're missing the train right now. It's a good basketball team that just showed you why. Could have easily folded up. You know what? It's a great season, Ben. Dropped by 20 points in game number 4. We'll try to play well at home, but we know by game 6 or 7, we're going to be going home. Not the case here. OKC back in the driver's seat now.
OKC was only an underdog one other time entering last night. That was game 3. It was a 2-point spread in favor of the Mavericks. They won. They covered that number in game number 3. So to show that resilience last night, big things out of the Thunder. Last night was also the lowest total we have seen so far in this series at 215 and a hook. It stays under, 3 unders out of 4 games so far in this second round set. OKC actually under in 6 of their 8 playoff games so far. And that defense was stifling late. Lou Dort, a great job against Luka Doncic, who shot 6 of 20 from the floor. And from 3 last night, the struggle's apparent once again for Luka. Just 2 of 9 from deep. Kyrie Irving, abysmal as well. Only 9 points, the second time in the 4 games of this series that Kyrie Irving has scored in single digits. It was P.J. Washington leading the way with 21 points, making 5 threes in 3 consecutive games. But again, and this is no shot at P.J. Washington, if your starting 5 includes Luka and Kyrie, P.J. Washington cannot be your leading scorer with 21 points. And the Mavericks, Donnie, just 12 of 23 from the charity stripe last night.
Yeah, let's just say, that point is valid for you, Ben, where you say to yourself, okay, Lou Dort's an unbelievable defensive player, and he takes away his superstar. That doesn't say, look, well, that's okay for Kyrie because he's not supposed to score against a great defender with 9 points. Do we say the same thing when the number one wide receiver goes up against a number one corner? Like, you know what, that number one wide receiver not expected to do big things. No, you expect him to dominate because that's what you pay him to do. And you're right about that, which I do like P.J. Washington. Talked about him on the radio yesterday. I love the hot hand guys. Make 3-point shots. You talked about it yesterday. 2.5 was that number, easily surpassed it. But I was still going after. FanDuel had a great boost yesterday that ended up losing. It was Doncic, it was Irving, and it was SGA to each get 20 points. So to me, I thought I was just betting, will Kyrie Irving get to 20 points, some down performances? I think he'll bounce back, and he wasn't able to do that. That's great defense, man. You hold the Dallas Mavericks offense to under 100 points in their own gym. I love that, man. So that shows you OKC can score and OKC can play D. Got those same type of vibes from Minnesota right now. I love what I see out in the West right now.
12 of 23 from the free throw line. Luka Doncic walked to the free throw line with 10 seconds remaining in regulation. The Mavs down 2, and he missed the first. You got to take advantage when they are free at the charity stripe. So now we are tied at 2 games apiece, where Oklahoma City returns home. One of the best teams at home throughout the association in this regular season and into the playoffs. Of course, they have played 4 home games. They did lose game 2 against the Mavericks. OKC, a 4.5-point home favorite for game number 5 tomorrow at home, looking to take that 3-2 series lead. In DRS, they enter game number 4 with Dallas a minus 220 favorite to win this series outright. As we said yesterday, if you like OKC on the money line as a very slight road underdog, you better jump on that series price as you can, because the Thunder now a series outright favorite at minus 158.
And they should be. This is why you play all season long, to get that number 1 seed. So when you have pivotal games, they're in your building. It's 2-2. Now the best of 3 is in your own building. You should be able to take care of business. Win game 5, that before you go on the road and try to close it out. But if it doesn't happen, you know what you get, Ben? Game 7 in your own building to win it here. I like OKC. I loved what I saw last night. You want to give me a team that fights through adversity like they did last night to even up that series? You got me, man. Let's go, OKC.
Oklahoma City, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, ties their conference semifinal set against the Mavericks at 2 games all. The Boston Celtics, the number 1 seed out east. Game 4 in Cleveland. And recap next.
Missed call the entire game, whether it's a charge or a block or a deflection that was wrong or a foul that should have been called that wasn't called, or vice versa. Give me a 48-minute report. And people that will understand that there's so many mistakes that the referees make over the course of the game that referees, ready folks, don't decide the outcome.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How fragile are these guys? It's amazing. They're supposed to be the greatest athletes in the world, and yet they can't walk and chew gum at the same time without getting hurt, for goodness sakes.
That Trout injury really is a bummer too, because people thought he was going to have a big year. And I look, I don't feel bad for the Angels. I don't like Mike Trout in Anaheim. I thought he should have left when his contract was up.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Devastating loss to Georgia Tech, where they made significant coaching errors. But Miami, with all of these changes, obviously looking to churn over this roster and upgrade the talent level.
Don't sleep on Rick Pitino. Listen, at the end of the day, the portal is the portal, Mike. Don't matter where you came from, it's where you're going and how much money can you get.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
only on SportsGrid.
A big developing story ahead of game number 4 last night in Cleveland. That was the absence of Donovan Mitchell for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That drastically shifted the line ahead of game 4 as Cleveland got ready to host the Boston Celtics. As we were discussing the game yesterday, DRS, you pointed out that Spida was listed as questionable. He did not show up to shoot around early on a Monday afternoon and was ruled out for game number 4 around 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. It was an 8.5-point spread at that juncture after Donovan Mitchell was ruled out. 12-point number in favor of the Celtics on the road in the land. But even without Spida, everybody for Cleveland rallied as best as they could. Boston still wins. They take a 3-1 series lead with a 109-102 victory, but Cleveland covers easily as a 12-point home underdog. Now, I will say, depending on where you got the line, if you were listening to DRS and myself break down this game yesterday and you thought it made sense to lay 8.5 with Boston and Karis LeVert as Boston was up by 9, hit a jumper that was rather meaningless with 2 seconds left to make it a 7-point victory margin for the Celtics, ripped your heart out. We do apologize.
Yes, we do apologize for that, but at the same time, this game does go over the total. And trust me on this one, that 207 and a half we were talking about yesterday morning, that was with Donovan Mitchell in, so he was out. I was like, boy, that's probably a really good bet now. And we saw that drop to around 203 and a half at game time. Easily goes over that price. But also, let's move forward, right? Because now we see a 3-1 series lead, and you say to yourself, well, Boston is going to probably win this in 5. They go back to their own building. That's what's supposed to take place, almost a carbon copy image of what we saw in the Miami Heat series. But also, remind us of this. Donovan Mitchell missed a basketball game because his calf was injured. Something tells me, Ben, we might not even see him again in this series, even if it goes another game post game number 5, because we talk about that. Oh, just a calf injury for Giannis. What did he miss, Ben? 3.5 weeks and never even showed up in the playoffs at that point. Young superstars here in a series that you probably won't win. What's best? Go out there and injure that calf further, or just say, you know what? Nice try. We couldn't get it done. Maybe we could have brought you back if we won that game, that last game in our own building, which they didn't win. I don't know if we see him again. So this should be an easy gentleman's sweep for the Boston Celtics. But getting back to the Cleveland Cavaliers, showed a lot of fight on that basketball team, man. I know you're in your own building. It's going to be hype, the playoffs. You still want to win. But that was one of those games where once you saw Donovan Mitchell out, we thought it was going to be a wrap. And they didn't let it get away by playing a very sound second half. And I liked what I saw to them. They got the cover. It's just not going to be enough. And as I said, my original point, Donovan Mitchell or no Donovan Mitchell, they were never going to win the series. Maybe they could have got it to 6 games, but this is going to be a 5-game now set.
Yeah, it looks as that is going to be the case. Boston, a 15.5-point favorite for game number 5, back inside TD Garden tomorrow evening. However, let's give Cleveland some credit last night. 4 of the 5 starters scored at least 15 points for the Cavs. They did something that no team has done so far against Boston in this postseason, including Cleveland. That's cover a number as an underdog that did not feature an outright victory. Boston has played 9 playoff games. They have been booked as at least a 7.5-point favorite in all 9, a double-digit favorite in 7 of the 9, including laying 12 on the road in the land last night with LeBron James in attendance. It was the first playoff win for Boston this postseason out of 7 where they did not win by at least 13 points or cover as that favored side. It was the first time in this series, DRS, as a ton of trends were stopped in their tracks last night, that both teams reached the century mark, leading us to an over of that total that you mentioned, closing at 203 and a hook, 204. Darius Garland, 30 points last night, 4 of 13 from deep, picking up the 3-point volume we have seen out of Donovan Mitchell. Because really for Cleveland, either to end out the series against Orlando or early here in the first 3 games against Boston, if they were going to do anything, it was because of Spida. He scored 28 points in 6 consecutive games entering last night. Just simply not enough. So Boston returns home as a 15.5-point favorite. They're a minus 100,000 favorite on that series outright price. The Celtics looking to get back to yet another Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, and you just told me that price point there at home. That's probably a price point that includes, we don't think Donovan Mitchell's coming back for this series to play in game number 5. So we're taking a look at over 2 touchdowns to this point. But also yesterday, you need to do some crazy things to hang around. I think Max Strus knocked down his first 5 triples yesterday, trying to keep that team in it. But sooner or later, it's going to catch up to you because 15 of 48, it's nice to make 15, but if you shoot 48 of it, only 31%, you're probably not going to pull very many upsets, and they didn't last night. Looks like a 5-game sweep, and on the Celtics go to the next round.
We'll look at the overall odds outlook for the NBA postseason next.
Missed call the entire game, whether it's a charge or a block or a deflection that was wrong or a foul that should have been called that wasn't called or vice versa. Give me a 48-minute report. And people that will understand that there's so many mistakes that the referees make over the course of the game that referees, ready folks, don't decide the outcome.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How fragile are these guys? It's amazing. They're supposed to be the greatest athletes in the world, and yet they can't walk and chew gum at the same time without getting hurt, for goodness sakes.
That Trout injury really is a bummer, too, because people thought he was going to have a big year. And I look, I don't feel bad for the Angels. I don't like Mike Trout in Anaheim. I thought he should have left when his contract was up.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Devastating loss to Georgia Tech, where they made significant coaching errors. But Miami, with all of these changes, obviously looking to churn over this roster and upgrade the talent level.
Don't sleep on Rick Pitino. Listen, at the end of the day, the portal is the portal, Mike. Don't matter where you came from, it's where you're going and how much money can you get.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
Ooh. If we can just make one final point about the series price between the Celtics and the Cavaliers, the odds are drastic, and it leads us in to a discussion about where the NBA postseason stands once again as we get ready to change venues for a second time in this second round, as everybody is on to a 5th game in the conference semifinal series. DRS Boston, a minus 100,000 favorite to win this series outright. Entering game number 4 last night in the land, Boston was minus 500 to win this series in 5 games. Before Spida was ruled out, Boston was minus 290 to win this series in 5 games. If we could go back to those series odds, Boston now minus 1,600 to win this series in 5 games. They are actually minus 1,800 in the exact Game 5 money line price for tomorrow night inside TD Garden. And let me just make one point that our producer Joe Frizo made to me. The Cavaliers to win this series outright are 80-1, plus 8,000 on that series money line price. Cleveland is down 3-1. The only possible way the Cavaliers can win this series is rattling off improbably the next 3 games. That would be Cleveland in 7, which listed in the series correct score market is 180-1. I don't think it happens. Boston, I think, easily wins in game number 5. But if you have any belief, if you are the staunchest believer in the world for the Cleveland Cavaliers, bet 180-1, not 80-1 on the series outright price.
Yeah, hey, trying to make some money here. If you can pull off some miracles, maybe you get Donovan Mitchell back, maybe Jared Allen makes an appearance, and you can start that, move up the list. Look, we don't think that's going to happen either way at this point, which is why it's priced so crazy. But if you want to throw a couple dollars down on a lottery ticket scheme, there you go, Ben. You found it.
You got to find some value where you can. And you had some value on Boston minus 290 entering yesterday's slate to win this series in 5. But what's interesting to me, Donnie, Boston basically from the odds makers has already won this series against Cleveland. He's already starting their prep and their scouts of both the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers for the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics a 15.5-point favorite for Game 5 tomorrow night back in Beantown is 1 victory away from their 3rd consecutive Eastern Conference Finals appearance, their 4th in the last 5 NBA seasons. But yesterday, Boston was minus 140 to win the NBA title. Today, Boston remains at a minus 140 number to win the NBA championship and minus 650 to win the Eastern Conference title. So DRS, it's always been that number for Boston, which says to me, I don't think that's going to move much when the official end of this second round does come to a close.
No, it's already baked in. Like, we understand that the Boston Celtics are going to move forward. And also, it's not like the same way you would view some other sports where it's like, okay, every win that Boston gets, that number increases. By the time you get to the NBA Finals, they're a minus 400. Well, think about that. They're a minus 400 to win the championship when the Nuggets would be like a 7-1 price to win it. See how that doesn't make any sense? So you can't move the Celtics all that much more from the minus 140 because you're not playing the Celtics up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. You're not playing the Celtics up against, let's just say, the Pacers and or the Knicks. You're trying to measure up what that finals number is going to be against the Denver Nuggets, against Oklahoma City, against Minnesota, and against Dallas of what that's going to turn out. Because that minus 140 price, I would be surprised. Like, what's the number that's going to hit? Minus 150 as a max here? Because even though we know that, let's just say they get to the finals, they're supposed to win the finals, they have home court advantage, but you can't just give the other team who, again, let's just say it's the Denver Nuggets who survived this series, then also beat OKC, which would be incredible. You're not going to give the Denver Nuggets a plus 240 price to win the NBA Finals when it gets there. These two teams are going to be neck and neck. So I think that price point is about bottomed out right now on the Celtics here, Ben.
And I think it's the same point in the Eastern Conference as well. The C's a minus 650 favorite to win the East. Yesterday, it was minus 600 because of what is happening between Indiana and New York. And obviously, the Celtics' domination here in this second round set against Cleveland. But I don't really think that number moves all that much, despite the fact Boston has been greater than a 10-1 minus money favorite entering both of their playoff series. We'll look at what is happening tonight back inside Madison Square Garden between the Knicks and the Pacers in just a moment. Again, Indiana remains the series outright favorite, and yet New York has a slightly better price to win the Eastern Conference title and a much better price to win an NBA championship. Some of that is indicated with the health of a potential return at some point if the New York Knicks reach that destination of OG Anunoby. But we get ready for game number 5 tonight inside the Mile High City between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. And we have seen a lot of reshuffling in the Western Conference odds, DRS, virtually on a daily basis because of both of these series now being tied at 2 games all, both getting to 2 games apiece in very different formats. But that's where we stand. Denver plus 140, the Western Conference title favorites. OKC now second best number at plus 260. It's a best of 3 in both. As we entered the best of 7 at the start of this round, this was the order. Denver, OKC, Minnesota, and Dallas, the longest of the 4 teams.
It's funny because as you say this, like we're even up. And yes, home court advantage absolutely matters in 2 of the final 3 games that we're going to find out. But when you take a look at what have you done for me lately stuff, the Minnesota Timberwolves now plus 310 price. The Dallas Mavericks at a plus 470. They were riding high just a few short days ago, both of them, because they had the leads in the series. But we saw the Mavericks lose that pivotal game 4 in their own building, now giving home court advantage back to OKC. So now we don't trust the Mavericks. They're down to a 470 price. And the same thing with Minnesota. Nobody could beat them. Minus money price, absolutely hammering the Denver Nuggets. Now they're plus 310. You say to yourself, well, is the series over? Does Denver actually have the lead? No, they don't at this point. And also keep in mind, Minnesota won 2 games already in Denver at this point, so you won't be scared. So if we're looking long-term and saying, where do the numbers make the most sense, you're probably looking towards the Timberwolves for me. And again, OKC at a plus 260 price. That's where I would be headed. I'm not going to throw Minnesota's first 2 games out and say, well, that was just fluke and they lost the last 2. I expect a big-time performance out of the Minnesota Timberwolves and a possible winning game number 5 as well.
I mean, you can see a couple of similar numbers throughout the 4 teams in the Western Conference. Denver now in a series tied at 2 games apiece, heads back home for game number 5. Denver a 4.5-point favorite tonight. OKC tied in a series at 2 games all. Heads back home last night. Well, I can't really say that. Heads back home tomorrow night, a 4.5-point favorite. Again, the same spread in favor of both of the home teams for game number 5. But where the biggest difference is, the Timberwolves at 8-1 to win an NBA title, $5 in front of the Mavericks at 13-1. Given what is happening in the Eastern Conference, all 4 teams that remain out west, shorter numbers than any of the 3 teams not named the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. Again, that's really what things are setting up for right now in those NBA title odds. And I will say this, Donnie, regardless of who you think wins the West, this is probably the longest price you'll get on either the Nuggets or the Thunder, but I'm not sure it's the best value you can get on either of those 2 teams because there's still a long way to go to get through this second-round series and, of course, whatever happens in a Western Conference Finals as well.
Exactly, and that's what we're dealing with both the East and the West. The East is a formality for us right now as it feels, with the Boston Celtics running away. Now, I don't know if that would be the case. Let's see how the Pacers handle that series against the Knicks, because I do think the Pacers give a little bit more of trouble to the Celtics because I believe they can score with them here. But again, it should be the Celtics all the way through. But we get back to that Western Conference, man. You can just flip a coin at this point and say you can make a decision on whether either one of these teams can actually win the NBA championship, and you would get a great argument. Of course, we know the Nuggets can do it. The young up-and-coming here, OKC, has that home court advantage. You take a look at the Mavericks. Do you think they're dead in the water yet with Luka Doncic? Absolutely not. And then the T-Wolves, who I think are the most complete team in the Western Conference at a plus 310 price, who already won 2 games in Denver. The West is so much fun to watch. It's almost like we're just waiting out the East just to see who the Celtics are going to face in the NBA Finals.
Indiana might be Boston's best test because they're just the healthiest entering an Eastern Conference Finals set. We'll preview the doubleheader on this Tuesday later on. Now to Major League Baseball next.
Missed call the entire game, whether it's a charge or a block or a deflection that was wrong or a foul that should have been called that wasn't called or vice versa. Give me a 48-minute report. And people that will understand that there's so many mistakes that the referees make over the course of the game that referees, ready folks, don't decide the outcome.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How fragile are these guys? It's amazing. They're supposed to be the greatest athletes in the world, and yet they can't walk and chew gum at the same time without getting hurt, for goodness sakes.
That Trout injury really is a bummer, too, because people thought he was going to have a big year. And I look, I don't feel bad for the Angels. I don't like Mike Trout in Anaheim. I thought he should have left when his contract was up.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Devastating loss to Georgia Tech, where they made significant coaching errors, but Miami, with all of these changes, obviously looking to churn over this roster and upgrade the talent level.
Don't sleep on Rick Pitino. Listen, at the end of the day, the portal is the portal, Mike. Don't matter where you came from, it's where you're going and how much money can you get.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note of saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
Only two teams yesterday had Monday off in Major League Baseball. That was the Yankees and the Twins. So we had 28 of 30 MLB clubs in action, nearly ever so slightly a full slate on a Monday. And what a pitcher's duel it was in Atlanta. The 8th start of the year for Shota Imanaga, the starter for Chicago. And for the first time in those 8 starts for Imanaga, the Cubbies went down, but not because of Imanaga, who gave up 7 hits in 5 innings of work and still scoreless baseball to lower his ERA sub-1 once again. But still, not good enough to eke out a victory for the Cubs in the ATL. The Braves win 2-0 as Reynaldo Lopez on the other side, also a scoreless gem. Atlanta picks up a 2-0 victory as a home favorite. It was minus 142 on the money line. And DRS, a total that's closed at 8, never even came close.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, where even though with those weather conditions, like, a little bit cooler temperatures, some rain in the forecast, but 2 really good pitchers this season on the mound, and they didn't disappoint yesterday. Imanaga, a .96 ERA is what he lowered that to. That is outrageous here. You want to talk Cy Young? That's your Cy Young right now. But you take a look at the Atlanta Braves also eking out another victory here, not doing with their bats, but with pitching. And maybe it's time to check on that spider tack for Reynaldo Lopez, who was a guy that was basically fodder the past couple years, is filthy this year with a 1.34 ERA after going 5 innings pitched and no earned runs given up. You see that bullpen, which I've always liked for the Atlanta Braves, hold on for that victory here. 25-13, not going anywhere, and we're not even seeing the best of that Braves offense, but still able to be quality pitchers here like Imanaga.
The Braves were swept 2 weekends ago in Los Angeles, but from that point have really responded. They took 2 of 3 against the New York Mets this weekend. They win this series opener at home against the Chicago Cubs. When you look at ERA right now, DRS, across Major League Baseball, Imanaga, .96. Reynaldo Lopez, a 1.31. These are 2 of the best pitchers to start off this season in MLB. Imanaga had 8 Ks yesterday, but did have a long outing even in 5 innings, 98 pitches. Not his most efficient start, despite not giving up a single earned run. So in the battle for National League Rookie of the Year, it's really been between the 2 Japanese hurlers that have made their debut this year in Major League Baseball. Imanaga for Chicago, and on the other side, Yoshi Yamamoto for the LA Dodgers. Not the best start for Yamamoto yesterday, allowing 4 earned against the San Francisco Giants, but his Dodgers do rally up in the opener in the Bay. Mookie Betts led off the game with a home run for Los Angeles. Kike Hernandez tied it at 4-all in the 7th, and it was Will Smith, a 2 RBI double in extras. The Dodgers win 6-4 in 10.
You see how that helps? And also you saw Ohtani back into the lineup after that stiff back that he left, I believe, Saturday, missed Sunday's game. And we talked about this before, Ben. You take a look at Mookie Betts in that game. Home run, 2 for 5, up to 341. Obviously, Ohtani went 2 for 5 as well. But I talked about last week, Ohtani being in that 2-hole here. You can't pitch around Mookie Betts when he's there. You saw yesterday with Ohtani out of the lineup, they got shut out. You see today, they score 6 runs. It's a little bit harder to pitch in that lineup with a dominant bat like Ohtani, who goes 2-0, gets that RBI and also goes 2 of 5. Like what I saw of the Dodgers. You can't win every game in low-scoring battles. Nice to see a comeback victory yesterday with 2 in the 10th inning to ice that in extras.
And 4 of the top 5 odds in terms of National League Rookie of the Year hail from either the Cubs or the Dodgers. Imanaga from Chicago. Michael Busch from Chicago. Yamamoto and Pages, they are from L.A. Sandwiched in between is the hurler for Pittsburgh, Jared Jones. Not Paul Skeens. He's down there ever so slightly at 20-1. DRS, when all is said and done this year in the National League Rookie of the Year odds, do you think it's a race between Imanaga and Yamamoto?
It basically feels like it's a race between those two, but just a race just to be healthy. We understand that these numbers are not going to stand up. A pitcher's not going to go through an entire Major League Baseball season with an ERA at 1. He's going to get shelled with some starts. And also, Ben, keep in mind this. Pitchers usually have the advantage first time through when a team's like, okay, never saw this guy before. He's got good stuff. Let me feel him out. Oh, okay, this is what he does well. Let's see him go around the second time around the National League to see if that holds up. That's when batters can usually get a grasp on these pitchers. But both of them have been very, very good to start. But Imanaga, absolutely tremendous. And also keep in mind, and basically half of his games, Ben, are going to come pitching at Wrigley Field. And he's got an under 1 ERA. That's incredible, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is. DRS yesterday, dead even pick'em in an opener in Arlington between two teams near the top of their division to start off this week. The Rangers in the weaker American League West to start. The Guardians still pacing the AL Central, but ever so slightly holding on. It was minus 108 for Texas, minus 108 on the other side for Cleveland, and it was scoreless through 7 innings yesterday. And then Cleveland broke through in the 8th and the 9th, scoring 4 in the 8th, 3 in the 9th to win 7-0 on the road over the Rangers. Again, it was a dead even money line pick'em, and the total was 9. You probably thought you were sitting pretty for the first 7 frames. Then it got a little dicey, but the Guardians do pick up a road win.
Yeah, exactly. One team scores 7 runs, stays under 9.5. Doesn't make too much sense with Bybee and also Lorenzen on the mound. Keep pressure on Lorenzen here. 7 innings pitched, only 1 hit given up, no earned runs. Did walk 4 guys, but struck 4 out. Lowers his ERA to 3.75. Let's win for the Guardians on the road. We're waiting for the Texas Rangers to wake up as if it's like, okay, let's get back out there and see if we can win another championship. Just barely above 500 now.
When you look at those standings, it is not Texas in front in the American League West. It's the Seattle Mariners, but only 4 games above 500. Great pitching performance out of George Kirby last night in Seattle as the Mariners edge out the Royals 6-2.
Yeah, it's about expected there, and also taking a look at a game that was going to stay around that 7.5 to 8 number because why? It's a big ballpark to pitch in yesterday. Good win by Seattle, staying up top here. We're waiting again. Somebody's going to awaken in that division here to really take control. Let's see who it is over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, so when you look at Seattle, a big day for Raley, 3 RBIs for him to lead the Mariners. Our guy, Vinny Pasquantino, the Pasquatch, did score. Your guy, Michael Massey, an RBI, I believe a 2 RBI double for the Kansas City Royals. We'll have plenty more around Major League Baseball on the other side of the break to look back on Monday with a full slate ahead on this Tuesday. We did have one postponement yesterday as well, so 13 games on a Monday. More coming your way on the early line next.
Missed call the entire game, whether it's a charge or a block or a deflection that was wrong or a foul that should have been called that wasn't called or vice versa. Give me a 48-minute report. And people that will understand that there's so many mistakes that the referees make over the course of the game that referees, ready folks, don't decide the outcome.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How fragile are these guys? It's amazing. They're supposed to be the greatest athletes in the world, and yet they can't walk and chew gum at the same time without getting hurt, for goodness sakes.
That Trout injury really is a bummer, too, because people thought he was going to have a big year. And I look, I don't feel bad for the Angels. I don't like Mike Trout in Anaheim. I thought he should have left when his contract was up.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Devastating loss to Georgia Tech, where they made significant coaching errors, but Miami, with all of these changes, obviously looking to churn over this roster and upgrade the talent level.
Don't sleep on Rick Pitino. Listen, at the end of the day, the portal is the portal, Mike. Don't matter where you came from, it's where you're going and how much money can you get.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness. I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
Another strong pitchers duel yesterday in Baltimore between the starters, Jose Berrios for Toronto, Corbin Burnes for Baltimore. But later in the game, it was Varsho for the Blue Jays, leading them to a victory. They respond in a game where Adley Rutschman hit 2 home runs. Dalton Varsho hits a solo shot in the 8th to send it to extras. And then a fielder's choice put the game-winning RBI in the 10th. As the Blue Jays win 3-2 on the road to open up this divisional duel during the midweek against the Orioles in 10.
Yeah, Berrios back there with a bounce-back effort after getting lit up by the Philadelphia Phillies. 7 innings pitched, only 2 earned runs given up. Corbin Burnes was really good, though, Ben. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned runs, 2.68 ERA for him now on the season. Now, you take a look at that final score, which easily stays under the total. That's what typically you get with 2 good pitchers. If you're unhappy with the Orioles' 2-run effort yesterday, just wait till today, baby. Why? Because those lefties are going to be smacking that baseball around the yard today. Get ready for a little preview later in the show. Tough look for the Orioles last night. Won't be that tough tonight, I'll tell you that.
Listen, we're getting some RBI plays today from DRS. That I know. Another American League East divisional duel yesterday started in Boston inside Fenway. Worst start of the year for Cutter Crawford as the Rays go on the road as a very slight underdog inside Fenway and win 5-3. Cutter Crawford allowing 4 earned runs against Tampa yesterday, a victory for the Rays.
Yeah, I thought this game sort of played to the under, and it did. Stays under by half of a run, but you did have those interesting weather conditions where the wind was blowing out yesterday. Crawford, 6 innings pitched, 4 earned runs. Got to do a little bit better than that, but even with that outing, his ERA only raises to 2.24, which is tremendous. Zach Eflin on the road gave you a quality start, 5 innings pitched, 3 earned runs. His ERA now sits at 3.91. These are 2 teams that are probably going to be fighting for midway up the standings in the AL East all summer long, but Tampa pulls that one out 5-3. Close game here. Wasn't really loving this game all the way through with a slight lean towards the under, and it stayed under.
The Yanks back in action today. They're a -136 road moneyline favorite in Minnesota against the Twins, and the Yankees remain an odds-on favorite to win the American League East at -155. The Orioles, second best price at +150. Already, Donnie, the odds have this as a 2-team race to win the American League East and that divisional crown. And maybe it makes sense. Boston, the only other team above 500, 21-20. Tampa, an even 500 at 21-21. The Jays, 3 games below 500 at 19-22. We expect 3, 4, maybe all 5 of these teams at certain points later this summer to be in contention for that postseason race.
Yes, and you know what's disappointing about this, too? We're not disappointed in the Yankees. Yeah. We thought they'd have a decent baseball team, even though coming out of spring training was a little wishy-washy. They performed very well here, and we're still waiting for those big bats to come alive. We love that Orioles lineup. We love the fact that they got Burnes in the offseason. Those 2 teams should be at the top of the standings. But you take a look at the Toronto Blue Jays in that graphic, 21-1. That is so disappointing, man, because you take a look at the past 3 years of building, Ben, for what that franchise was supposed to be. Spending money, sold-out crowds, revamping their home arena. And at the same time, you're like, what are we getting out of this? Where's the power at? Where's all the surprise? It's just not there right now. So that's the most disappointing thing right now in the AL East. Not the Boston Red Sox or Tampa for me. It's Toronto. They've had big expectations, just aren't performing.
Agree. The Jays plus 188 at this moment to make the American League postseason. There are 6 clubs that have a minus money price. Of course, the expanded MLB playoffs feature 6 teams in each league. One team not in minus money, but 7th best number. That's the Houston Astros. Make it 4 victories in their last 5 games for Houston. A victory at home yesterday against the A's, a 9-2 win for the Stros.
Yeah, clubbed them late. Scored 6 runs total in the 7th and the 8th inning. Yesterday, I liked a couple RBI props in this game. Rooker was my guy. Well, come on. You go 2 for 3. Somebody get on base, man. Somebody help the guy out at this point. So wasn't able to catch that. And also, I like the 3.5 team total for the Athletics, which should have come in. They got 9 hits in that game, which included late in the game. Here's what it hurt, too. Those doubles with 2 outs that don't score any runs with a runner on base, they will do you in every single time. But, hey, I thought Rooker was the play. Now hitting 303, 2 hits last night. That should get an RBI in the middle of the lineup. It just didn't. The A's go down to the Astros.
It should have, DRS. It really should have. Kyle Tucker continues to have a great early season for Houston. Leads all of the bigs in homers with 13. Another ribby yesterday. He is 29 so far in this year. So Houston's starting to find some life. Ever so slightly, still a large hole to drag themselves out of when you look at where they stand in the American League West. No longer in the cellar, though. That's the Angels, but still 9 games below 500 at 16-25. The Phils, by the way, a winner in extras yesterday after Edwin Diaz blows a 2-run lead in the home half of the 9th. NFL talk to start hour 2 next.